Anyone who believes in indefinite growth on a physically finite planet is either mad or an economist.
We don't want to focus politics on a notion that involves the rejection of principles around which a large majority of our fellow citizens organize their lives.
We are not as endlessly manipulable and as predictable as you would think.
I'm a co-founder of something called Rainmaking, and maybe I should just tell a little bit about what it is we do, because it is a bit different. We are working as entrepreneurs, meaning that we actually get business ideas ourselves, and we get customers, hire employees, start building companies. And we do it in this shape of rainmaking, which means that we have a portfolio of companies at any given time, instead of just one. But we also have a portfolio of entrepreneurs. So we are 9 guys owning Rainmaking together, and each of us are running one company, and we are helping each other out across the different companies, but we each spearhead one of them, meaning that we can be focused at the same time, because I do believe that focus is quite important, and we don't want to turn ourselves into investors or consultants. Not that there's nothing wrong with that. We just like the role of being an entrepreneur very much. So we are entrepreneurs creating companies, having a lot of fun with that. We are now 100 team members in Copenhagen, London, and Berlin. Those 7-8 companies that we are currently running. We have had 3 exits, because kind of what the idea is with a company factory is that we make something and we're ready to sell it, to pass it on. When it's in due time, we're actually willing to sell our babies, because then we can start something else. And we like that dynamic. It's not like we stick to it forever. We don't want to turn into a conglomerate. We just want to keep fresh and energetic about new ideas all the time. So we sold 3 companies, 2 to a capital fund and 1 to an industry leader. We closed down things also, like 5-6 times. Something hasn't worked out, and we closed it down. We have avoided bankruptcy so far, but of course that can be part of the game as well. And I think that's been very important for us also, to be able to shut something down when it wasn't working. So that's what we are doing. And a little bit more context on me personally is that my dad was an entrepreneur, so it was very natural for me to start my own company. And I actually started my first company when I was 18. That's the legal age in Denmark for a lot of things, including starting a company. And I was just so excited about it. I couldn't stay another day in school, so I just started when I was those 18 years. And over the next 5 years, I tried to make 5 different companies with a little bit of overlap and also in some kind of sequence. And I failed again and again. I got to 10 employees a couple of times, but at that stage it started falling apart. And I think now, in retrospect, that part of the explanation at least was that my level of maturity weren't that impressive. So I think it was okay when I was working based on my own skills and my own hours, but when I was going to replicate that in others and inspire others to shine, that wasn't really something that I was good at. So I ended up being a bit frustrated, to be honest, after 5 years. And what can you do when you're frustrated? You can go to school. So I went back to school. And I often get this question that people are asking: do you think it's necessary to have an education? Was that the turning point in your career? I don't think so. It's not like, that, as we all know, there are tons of examples of people who have been going to school for a very long time, build amazing companies, and also a lot of examples of people who haven't spent a lot of time there. I recently read about the youngest billionaire in Africa. He's 30 now. He started his first company when he was 15. And he's a billionaire. And he never spent any time in school after those 15 years. So I definitely think that you can become successful in many ways. But at least I was in a place where I didn't know what to do, and you can always go back to school. I think that's better than staying on the couch or something like that. So I did that for a little while, and then I went to work for McKinsey, and that was where I really tried out the experience of not having a work-life balance. And I basically hated it. And it's not to blame McKinsey in any way, but I was there for 15 months. It felt like 15 years, and it's only my own mistake. At the job interview, I lied. I said that I loved to work all the time. That was a lie, and I had to pay for it. So I ended up in a place where after 15 months I couldn't sleep anymore. And if any of you have tried that, I guess some of you have, then things go downhill pretty fast. So I was in Kuwait City, and I was just walking the hallways of the fancy Marriott hotel, and to my big surprise, being in a Kuwait city on an exciting project and on this fancy hotel didn't do me any good. I was just stressed out and not happy. So when I couldn't sleep anymore, I was just walking around there, and at the end of at the night number 3 or something like that, I realized I need to call home to Copenhagen and quit. And I did that, and the nice HR woman tried to convince me to wait until I was back in Copenhagen to have a chat about it. And I said, no, you don't understand. I really need to quit. And I need you to take this seriously and just accept it. And at the end, she did. And I went back up to my room in the middle of the day, and I slept like a baby. And I knew it was the right decision. So after then, there was one thing more that I wanted to do before I would go back to entrepreneurship, and that was to work together with an entrepreneur who had already really made it, someone that was really successful. And I found a Danish entrepreneur, the co-founder of Noma. He has a big restaurant empire and food thing going on in Denmark. And I worked with him for a year and a half. And that was a really fun experience because this guy was the opposite of McKinsey in many ways. He was extremely passionate about what he was doing. The same is and are many McKinsey consultants. But in addition to that, he was much more free, if you know what I mean. He was much more human. So he was also running and spending time with his kids and doing whatever he wanted. He was basically a free man. And I thought that was quite inspiring. I wanted to be something like that. But again, of course, in my own interpretation of it. So after a year and a half, I had to leave that job and co-found Rainmaking. And I did that together with 3 great friends. We're still friends, better than ever, I would actually say. And we added some more people to become equal partners with us on our journey, because we really like this companionship, this collaboration. It's not all about just making one company and making money for yourself. It's actually a lot more fun if you're doing it together as a group, I think. And we have a lot of companionship and fun around that. So that's a little bit about Rainmaking, a little bit about me. And then I'll also, before I talk more about the book, I'll also just mention that Rainmaking is based on 3 values that are closely tied to winning without losing. The first one is warm-hearted, because we had all seen actually a lot of the opposite of that. We've seen a lot of cynicism in corporate life, in companies, in business in general, and definitely not warm-heartedness. So we just from the beginning agreed that there should always be a warm-hearted culture in our company. And the moment there wasn't that anymore, we should go home. You shouldn't spend any time in a place where people really don't care about each other and just are there together to make money. And I think that's a short-term solution, and it's bound to fail sooner or later. And why not just take the consequence immediately and part ways if you get to that point? And that was part of the reason why I left McKinsey and didn't enjoy that. And we definitely wanted our company to be different. Because when you start your own company, and those of you who are entrepreneurs, you know that already. When you start your own company, you actually get a chance to design your own perfect little world. And in my own perfect little world, and in my friend's perfect world, we were friends and friendly with each other and enjoying to go to work. We wanted the same emotion as when if you remember when you were a kid and went to the after-school club to play with your friends. This great feeling, now I'm free, I'm going to play with my friends, it's going to be amazing. And we want that feeling every day we go to work. And I'm actually quite happy to say that I do feel that this is how we feel. And it's very important, of course, to maintain that culture. So every time we bring someone on board, we ask ourselves the question, how would I feel if I had to go to Berlin with this guy for a couple of days? Would I enjoy the flight, or would I just think about the meeting and the outcome? And if you would only think about the meeting and the outcome, the rational stuff, then forget about it. Even if this guy or girl is extremely talented, forget about it. There are enough people out there who can do the job. We want to find people who can do the job and have fun together with us at the same time. So that's the warm-hearted thing. Then there's a whole person thing, and that's all about what winning without losing is all about. We don't strive for working 4 hours a week or something like that. It's not a goal for us to minimize our work to very few hours a day or a week, because we love what we do. Work is not the right term for it. We really love it. We're passionate about it. But at the same time, most of us also had and have children, friends, hobbies. Want to travel. I love to travel. I would travel on vacation or something like 10 weeks, 8-10 weeks a year, and I love that. I get some of my best ideas there, and I have great experiences. We wanted all of those things that can be different for every person, because no one knows what's the right combination for each of us. Of course, we can only know that ourselves, but we wanted not to make a new setting where we could be slaves. That would be kind of ridiculous, to create a prison for yourself, or to make yourself a slave of some agenda. So we wanted it was very important for us that we want to be able to pursue our passion and have a great life at the same time. So that's the whole person dimension. And the last one is world focused, because often I think that in business we get pushed to or push ourselves to do something that we're not really proud of. And we decided from the get-go that we would never do that. We would only do companies that we would be proud of telling about at a family dinner, for instance. And we would only make decisions that would make us proud also in retrospect many years afterwards. Because we chose to believe that we are going to survive financially, and it's not about just making money. It's about something much bigger than that. And that was the decision that we made. Those 3 W's have been the foundation for Rainmaking since we started the company. And when you have some values, you are trying to live them out, and you're also trying to maybe explore them and share them with the world. And that's why I really felt a need to write this book called Winning Without Losing. And so for the last 3 years, I've been working on this together with my Canadian co-author, Jordan Milne. So we wrote 65 chapters, so you can actually read one on the loo or something like that, or in the bus, or whatever suits your personal agenda. Anyway, it's out in 8 different languages in 30 countries during the year, and it's really surprised us that people are so engaged in this topic that they actually want to buy books about it and everything. But then again, it is quite important, isn't it, that we do have a good life while we're also able to pursue our passions. So yeah, that's the book is based on not just what I think or know, because that would be a very thin book, or or a book that would be long, but you shouldn't read it. But instead, we actually went looking all over the world for role models. And role models in our definition here would be people who have achieved a lot. Also, we wanted to be able to sell the book in the US, and you can't sell a book in the US unless all the role models are extremely rich, right? So we found a lot of role models who are, in a formal way, extremely successful. And that's, so beyond any doubt, extremely successful. That's really nice. Check mark on that. But also we were looking for people, and that's of course the hard part, people that were really enjoying their life, and also had other things than just work. People who told a different tale than the tale we often hear, and the tale that my dad told me, that work is sacrifice, and if you want to be successful, if you want to get ahead, you need to sacrifice a lot. And I was thinking, yeah, maybe you're just talking about you, not me. Let me figure it out on my own. I went to school, the books and the professors there said the same thing. The autobiographies of famous people, normally you only get to page 3 until you already heard all about how much they sacrificed. And I was thinking, I definitely accept the fact that you can become successful through that route, but I'm just wondering, is there also another way? And that was the journey we embarked on, and tried to find people out there. It's a big world, and you can probably find many things out there. And we're just looking for those people, those outliers, who actually found a way to have a great life at the same time as they were immensely successful. And luckily we did. It took a couple of years. We interviewed them and talked to them and learned from them. And they are actually the basis for those 66 pieces of advice in the book.
Thank you so much for that. It's really nice to hear entrepreneurs talking personally about why they're doing things from their own story, rather than constantly, there's a lot of people who want to tell everybody else what to do, but it sounds like you've started from the principle of what you needed in your life and then tried to kind of get role models for that, expand on that, which is I think, really healthy. I'm intrigued by this question of this word winning. And I speak from my own experience that the book is full of lots of interesting tips for becoming more efficient at work and getting through things better and making the most of the time that you have. But I mean, I like many entrepreneurs, I like to think I'm pretty good at some of that. I read some bits of the book and thought, yes, I definitely do that. And, oh yeah, I figured that one out. Great. The trouble is that whenever I make extra time, I then proceed to fill it with a whole load of extra projects, and so I remain just as busy. So I'm constantly topping up to capacity. Is winning really what does winning mean to you in this context? And is actually the idea of having a kind of balanced life as much about saying no as it is about constantly trying to win all the time?
Yeah, absolutely. When we say winning, we think of it in terms of that you're successful with your passion and with your ambitions, whatever that they may be, because we or the role models or anyone shouldn't tell anyone what their passion or ambition should be. Each of us, that's a job for each of us to figure out, right? And that passion can be totally different things. But each of us do have a passion. Maybe we don't know it yet, but it's in there somewhere. And if you don't feel it, then it's really probably the exact right time to start looking for it seriously. And when you find that passion, you want to pursue it. I think that's only natural. That's in all of us. We want to pursue our passions. And winning in this terms, in our way of using the word, only means that you pursue your passion and you're successful in doing so. Not compared to anyone else, but compared to your own standards. And that you can actually do that and at the same time avoid losing in your private life, as many people unfortunately do. Often the most passionate of us, I don't know if you noticed that, but you probably have, people like, for instance, Michael Jackson, he was extremely passionate, he didn't seem particularly happy. And that's often the case. We use another example in the book, Sam Walton, the founder of Walmart, 7 years in a row, the richest man in the US, and at his deathbed he said, "I blew it." And a lot of people, especially Americans, couldn't understand that because he was so rich, right? And it might sound counterintuitive why he could think that he actually failed, but he hardly knew his own children. His wife only stayed with him out of obligation, he felt, and his grandchildren, he couldn't even probably name them because he'd been working all the time. And that was failure in his eyes when he came to that point in his life. And now that we can all read stories like that, then it's quite silly if we need to realize it as late as he did. So I'm just trying to realize what wise people at their deathbed have realized before me. So that's just how we look at the word winning.
So one more question from me, and then we'll open it up a bit and see what everyone else thinks. Something we get asked a lot about in our work at Mind Apples is about this wonderful term work-life balance, which seems like it's sort of at the heart of what you're talking about on some level. But in this age where really we're permanently connected, and when social media is bringing our personal lives and our work lives closer and closer together, is the term work-life balance becoming anachronistic, or is it okay to just have a job that you go to purely for earning money and then focus your passions on outside of work?
I think it's okay if you really enjoy it, right? As long as anyone is happy and feel that he or she has a great life, no one should come around and tell that person otherwise, right? It's a bit like parenting. I read in the book that the best parents are those that are feeling secure in what they do and feeling that they are great parents. It's not so much about what exactly they do, but just that emotion itself is really reassuring for a child. And I think it's the same thing. If we're having a great life, that's awesome. Just enjoy the ride. But if we are feeling that something is lacking, and a lot of people who are just having a job to have a job, to make money, are feeling that. I meet a lot of people who are saying something along the lines of, it's okay, I make money, but at the end of the day, I'm feeling something is lacking in my life. And that could be a sign that the passion is lacking. The passion to give your gift to the world at something that you're unique at doing or feel that unique at doing. So I think it's whatever works. But if it works, it works. No reason to screw with it. If it doesn't, then that's probably you shouldn't tell yourself a tale that this is necessary. And my dad also said that work is hard and blah blah blah. You shouldn't accept any of those fake truths, but just instead have courage and go out and create your own meaningful life.